Say what?
Hello and welcome back. It's time for Say What, where we hear from those connected to our industry about what's going on in the world of electrical apprenticeship. And this includes topics that you have suggested to us, so please keep those coming. I'm your host, Cindy Sandifer, and I am joined by Todd Stafford, our Executive Director here at the Electrical Training Alliance. Today, just get ready, because we have got we've got your customer service advisor, guru, just the best. The man, Steve Strickland, is joining us. Todd and I asked Steve to come and hang out and give us a look into a few things in his world. So buckle up, here we go. You have a long-standing history at the NJTC, now Electrical Training Alliance. And it started 27 years ago.
1994.
Speak up, Steve.
No, sorry. Yeah, it started 27 years ago, 1994. My brother was getting married, and I was here for the wedding, and he brought me over to meet A.J. Pearson, who was the executive director at that time, and A.J., never mind.
Some stories are best.
There are some things we don't say on the podcast.
No,
Right.
that's my
This is
fault.
not, we don't have Vegas rules on the
I know
podcast.
Steve doesn't realize the reason why he got to be hired in November that year. I was supposed to be in August of that year, and I could not because of the job. I had to wait till the next year. And he said, I'll go hire this other guy. So he got Steve. So
Yeah,
we
well, let's
came
bring
up.
this other guy in to
Bring
do
the other guy.
instrumentation. We'll let him work in the warehouse till he's up to snuff on his instrumentation.
And look where you are now, right?
So you owe Todd
Now I'm
a
a talking
huge
head.
thanks.
Todd's just mad because he's one spot behind me on the totem pole
It's true.
of
Oh.
seniority. Please.
Well,
That's
it,
right.
depends, it depends on how you look at it.
I mean, Todd could easily move up to second today if he wanted to.
He could actually change
Yes.
all of that.
Todd
for
could
himself.
move to number one if he didn't care about me, Tim, and Steve, but he loves us. And I'm not speaking of myself in the first and third person. I'm talking of Steve Anderson, of course.
And yes. So how many years have you been?
I've
with
been
the
here
company.
27 years as of last month. 27. Started in the warehouse back when it was.
Here he's not even looking like he's 27 years old, right?
I know, you look
Yeah.
so young. You and Paul Rudd just don't age.
I don't look 3 times 27 past 50, do I?
No.
I think that don't add up very well. But no, when I started, it was funny
81,
because
31,
Tim
yeah.
started here, my brother Tim, just to clear some things up because we're convinced there's a lot of people out there that think we are actually one person, either Stephen Timothy Strickland or Timothy Stephen Strickland. We are actually two different people for those of you who are not sure about that. So, because both of us
Has
have-
anybody ever seen you both at the same time?
Well, yeah, they
Okay, I was
have.
wondering,
They just probably
just
didn't
wondering.
realize that, they're just looking in our direction and say, there's a Strickland guy. But no, I mean, we've both had people call us and say, hey, I'm sorry, I forgot to ask you when we talked this morning. And we didn't talk this morning. I mean, I'm getting older and my memory's not that good, but we really didn't talk.
There's the other Steve.
Yeah, that was
Named
Steve
Tim.
and my other brother,
Oh,
Steve.
right.
Yeah,
Tim.
Oh, Daryl.
My other brother.
My
now.
brother, yes. Okay,
my other
yeah.
brother, Daryl. So,
I know that.
well, see, Tim came here, started out working in the warehouse a year before me. And there was 2 people in the warehouse. There was the then warehouse manager and then the one person that worked with him. Well, the person that was the warehouse manager was actually retiring the month Tim started. The new guy, the other guy that was in the warehouse, took over, and he was here for almost a week as the warehouse manager and thought, I can't really deal with this guy. And I'm not going to say which guy. I don't want to throw AJ under the bus. But he quit, and Tim, like 47 minutes into the job, became the warehouse manager. Funny story, right?
That's pretty good.
So Tim was here for a year, and
And he hired his brother, right?
begged,
Yeah,
kept begging me. I kept telling him, nah, I'm not going to leave. I'm happy here. And then finally, maybe I'll go try it out. So came here. It was just Tim and one other gentleman working in the warehouse at that time. And I guess after being here about 5 years, I told Tim, I think I'm ready to go back to Tennessee. And Tim said, what, really? I said, yeah. And then AJ offered me a job promotion.
Ah,
Played that so well.
and
didn't
you've
I?
been here
I
ever
did.
since.
Yeah, just kidding. No, actually, he did tell me, he's like, wanted you to try this out anyway. I was planning on doing this. So if you don't want to do it, by all means, go on with what you were planning on doing. And if you do want to do it, then you can stay here and job's yours. And, well, I guess it would be 22 years later because that was after being here about 4 or 5 years. I don't remember exactly, but here I am, not running the warehouse anymore.
But so you came in, you've basically been around the curriculum, like you from
Oh
the
yeah,
start.
I
that's
was
something-
here when we were using those 3-ring binders and putting those uglies and those raw books and those.
Collating, right?
Oh god.
Oh, the shrink wrapping.
Wrapping, yes.
Collating, right.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
was some good times right there. I'll tell you.
Steve and I have a rich history of working together in that warehouse, shrink wrapping.
It was
and
all hands
stuff.
on deck about the 1st of August every year to do just that, though.
Oh my gosh.
Well, there was one year it was all hands on deck. We was running a little bit behind on curriculum just 1 year. It was in the 90s. So
Early
but,
90s.
Yeah, no, I wasn't here in the early 90s. It was later in the 90s. But we were running behind to where everybody was out there. AJ was out there in a suit and tie, pulling orders. Him and Jim Boyd out there pulling together, and you had the ladies in the office. It was a really interesting. That was definitely an interesting summer, but we all survived it, and was in that position from '99. Back then, you were not only customer service. I mean, not only warehouse manager, but you were also customer service. And
Warehouseman.
Yeah, warehouse. You did.
Truck driver,
Yeah,
forklift driver.
pretty much. We'd have had a truck. We'd have been driving.
Everything, right.
It just reminded me of forklift driving at that time. I made a loud noise out in the warehouse.
During our meeting time.
I don't know if there was a meeting going on, but I was trying to get a skid off of the top rack of the shelving. And when I went to lift it up with the forks, it's like 3 levels high. And when I went to pick this up off of the top shelf, the back of the pallet caught the pallet on the other side full of binders. And when I lifted, that pallet full of binders flipped. Thank God nobody was sitting or standing on the other side pulling anything, because I'd still be wearing an orange jumpsuit. But I just remember the first thing I saw was AJ come running out from his office, and I'm thinking, well, it's been a good run. And he just started walking around like he was dancing. Thank God, thank God, thank God. He sounded like a Baptist preacher going off or something. And turns out he was just thrilled there was no hands or no limbs sticking out of the bottom of the pile. But I mean, I've got a few stories that I had to overcome in that warehouse with tearing some stuff up. But anyway, so I was there until 2004. Customer service kind of became a full-time thing. Was it 2004? Feels about right. I think so, 2004. And I've been in that role ever since. Maybe it's 2007. It was sometime.
But you've been doing that prior to it being official.
Yeah,
and
I was
then-
doing it prior to that.
Yeah.
So we just kind of shifted some roles around, and because with everything, I mean, some things were changing, a lot of stuff going on. So they just felt like there was probably need for somebody to be focused on making sure that the customers were being taken care of.
We all pushed it downstream anyway. When it got down to it, we was asked a question. We said, you got to talk to this guy, and made his way down to Steve. He answered it anyway, so
And
might as well
Steve
give him a
did-
job. Yeah, give him a job.
And now we still do that. We all say, oh, well, talk to Steve. And
Yeah.
Yeah, well, my
Yeah.
favorite thing was always when a customer would call and say, hey, they told us at this meeting that this was in the warehouse. I'm like, well, I'll have to go see them and ask them where it's at in the warehouse because I haven't seen it yet. And I'd come up front, and it was usually Rick who would say, did I do that again? And yep, you did,
you
Rick.
did.
Again, darn it."
You did.
But I got even with him by setting the alarm on him once or twice when he would be here in the late evening, and I'd leave, and then he'd set it off and call me, and I would never answer because I knew what he was going to say.
So don't mess with Steve is one lesson from the
I've learned that a long time ago. That's it.
don't, because he will get you back. So not a completely fair question, but because of your history in this, but right now, if you were to look at like this year, maybe, frequently asked questions, like what do people seem to either a specific question or a topic? Like what is the most asked question or topic that you get now when people are emailing and calling?
G version.
The G, oh yeah,
G version,
sorry,
please.
G version.
Everything is only G with me. Thank you. I don't know that there's it's not like there's one question I'm getting every day, but a common question I get is, I have a student who is becoming an instructor, and we cannot figure out how to add him or make him an instructor or add him to the roster as an instructor. And the most simple, easy method I could think of was put a 1 in front of his email address on his student account, and then you can use the regular email address to create an instructor account. So
See?
that's the easiest advice I can give on that.
That's really good. Having been there, trying to do that, probably calling you on it.
Yeah,
Like,
maybe once or
Cindy ever call you? Yeah.
few times.
Maybe.
a
Okay.
few times. I think he blocked my emails and phone number, but that's okay. That's
I
okay.
treat everyone equally. I didn't block anybody's, but thank you. But another thing is there's always students out there who can't log in for some reason. And I come to realize that the answer 90 point something % of the time would be that somehow this student was not on the correct website and didn't realize he was not on the correct website, although it doesn't look like where he normally logs in. So I tell people, here's you a 3-step process. I hope I can remember them right now without my notes. I gotta look back to tell them. Number 1, find out, is he at the correct website?
Right.
And if it turns out by some chance he's not, go in, change his password to 123456 because there's no double digits in there. There's nothing to confuse, no uppercase, no lowercase. Then change it. You log in with it. If you're able to log in with it and Johnny can't, Johnny's doing something wrong on his end.
Right.
So
Right.
that's probably 2 of the more common things that I get hit with.
That's what because it's probably this huge array of, there's a lot of things going on. So I think there's a lot of different types of questions that you would
I mean, I may hear some,
experience.
and some may be like temporary, like, hey, when is that book coming in? 'Cause
Right.
I don't know if everyone's heard yet, there is a paper shortage. And we felt that hard this year because we ordered our books in the same time frame 4 or 5 months before we were going to need them. It was typically a 6 to 8 week turnaround to get the books. And this year,
Before this year.
this year it was a 5-6 month wait.
Yeah.
And we ended up running out of books in the middle of the summer that we would have never run out of had they come in when they were supposed to in the 6 to 8 week period. But hopefully they'll figure out where the paper's at.
Catch up sooner or later, I hope.
Find the paper
On my way back home, I'll spot some trees for him
to work
to
with.
go get them some paper.
So you're kind of like I was going to ask you, like, is there something that people, meaning our customers, so is there something our customers, like, you think they should know from your perspective and experience working here? And you kind of said, like, there's things that can happen, right? Like, we're customer focused. I mean, it's why your position was made more official and created, was so that the customers could have someone to contact. They have essentially their own person that can answer their questions, because you're consistently and constantly communicating with staff. So you're getting all this information, holding it in that big, beautiful brain of yours, and then you're spitting it out. So, I mean, I guess you kind of have already answered it, like, to understand that you're there for them. I mean, is that something that's important for you, for people to know and understand?
Yeah, I mean, and the big thing I want people to know is please don't hesitate to call. I had a thought that was in my head while you were talking, but after the 5-second window was out, I don't even remember what that one was. So I should have raised my hand and cut you off.
Yeah.
Please let me say what I've got to say now because it won't be here when you're finished. It doesn't take much. But no, I mean, I tell everybody, please don't ever hesitate to call and ask any questions that you have. People refer to me a lot as the answer man, but the key to being the answer man is being around an encyclopedia of coworkers that can answer any question that I don't know the answer to. And trust me, I tell them guys, the directors and anybody else, stop answering questions that I can answer. Point them to me so they can ask me the question and let me answer it. And if I don't know the answer, then I will come bother you. Not that I'm not busy, but I love talking to people. So it's what I do. It's what I do at work. It's what I do at home. It's what I do in my sleep. That's why my wife sends me to sleep somewhere else frequently. 'Cause it's hard to talk with the CPAP on because she can't understand me. So.
But you try. I
Sorry,
bet
if
you
that was
try.
TMI, I apologize.
No, it's not. Talking with the CPAP. So our industry, regardless of whether we're talking about contractors, we're talking about NECO, we're talking about the IBW, we're talking about JTCs and AJTCs, we're constantly working with people. If you're taking in new apprentices, if you've got apprentices in your program, so customers, we all have customers. What advice would you give to anybody about how to do customer service? Like, what's the key to good customer service? Because I think we all encounter it, no matter what our profession, that we're dealing with people on some level.
Well, if Mark Sorrella were here, he would want me to say to overpromise and underdeliver, but That's not what I'm about. But,
Mark
no,
is not here to defend himself on that one.
So probably I would say the number one thing to keep in mind is it's not about you or it's not about me. Because, you get to hear the same questions sometimes if something's specific going on and you hear them over and over. And guess what? It's the first time they've asked the question. They haven't asked it 3 times already. So and honestly, my biggest thing, I try to start each day and with a prayer to ask the Lord to help me to anybody that I come in contact with that day that's calling and ask me a question. I don't care if it's their job, if it's just their life. I hope that their day is better because they talk to me. Mm-hmm. I don't want them to walk away mad. I don't want them to walk away feeling like, well, that was a waste of my time. Or hang up the phone, I should say, not walk away. But I want them to feel like, I cared what their question was, and hopefully I answered it. And do I hit that mark every time? I'm sure I don't. But trust me, if I realize that I forgot one, it will weigh on me, and I will try to fix it even if I didn't. So if I ever forget you, I didn't really forget you. I'm just old and forgot for a minute. It'll come back eventually because I have this call log that I refer to occasionally, and some of you have probably heard me say, I don't know how I missed, but I don't have an answer filled in. Some people I've called to just say, did I get you an answer? And I'll be like, well, yeah. Or they'll say, well, Ben called me back 3 weeks ago and answered it. So,
Yay, Ben. But you do it for us too. Like, I think that same attitude that you're talking about that you have for the customer that's calling or emailing, I feel like you have that for our staff as well. Like, you will reach out to us just randomly, to have that phone conversation, usually to make us laugh and, talk. Sometimes we're serious, but there's always joking no matter what. And you've always said that, like, you quoted someone when you and I have talked about it, but you never know what someone's dealing with, right? And sometimes, or I would say oftentimes when people call you, there might be pain points.
Right,
like,
yeah.
not even just their professional life. There could be other stuff going on.
Yeah, I think this statement was something that I had once heard was, if you treat everybody that you come in contact with as if they were hurting, you would have treated 80% of them correctly. And so, and I mean, that's something even with my daughter who's a teenager in middle school. I try to tell her, be nice, because you don't know what somebody else is going through.
Exactly.
So.
Exactly. And that brings me to, I guess, my last thought or question is, you love your job. Anybody that talks to you knows that. What is the best or best parts? I was going to say best part, but I think we'll go with best parts of your job. Anything that stands out?
Well, I do like talking, so that's a definite bonus.
It's an obvious that we all recognize too, which we all like. We all enjoy that.
I have been accused of liking the sound of my own voice, so, but sometimes I do. Sometimes, I feel a little off key. So, but no, I mean, honestly, I love people. I enjoy being around people, talking to people, helping people. So I just enjoy.
What else can you ask for out of customer service, right? Perfect.
Building relationships. I mean, it's great when one of our customers calls and they're asking me how my kids by name are, or I can ask them about their wife or their children because of building relationships through all these years. So
I was thinking about that, and not to get into the specifics, but I know you were talking to someone about your job, and they were like, oh, wow, you have relationships with the customers, like the people that you're talking to, because this person, like this particular field, was more they're calling people to give them information or warn them about something, but they're really not building that connection. And I think that stands out.
Yeah, well, I think with a lot of people, it's a job. And to me, it doesn't feel like a job because I have said this famously, please don't pay me as such, but my days feel like they last about an hour and a half. I mean, it's like I've worked on jobs before I came here that, I just, what time's break? What time's lunch? What time is next break? What time is it time to go yet? I haven't experienced that in 20-some years, and that's a pretty good feeling. And if you don't feel that, I would encourage you to find it because it's a pretty good gig. What's the saying? A person that loves what they do never works a day in their life.
Right. Right. And I think you are the epitome of that. And I it's sad to say I have Steve Strickland in my head, but I do. And I'll remember that, like, about loving what you do and how you treat people, and that idea, like Todd, you just said it, to have your customer service advisor, representative, manager, like that person love people.
Well, Steve just explained exactly what we say about our industry all the time. I say bring in the family, bring a new apprentice into the family, bring an instructor into the family, and you treat them as such. What you do all the way through. You treat them like family, you'll always have better results anyways.
Absolutely. Well, Steve, thank you for spending a little time with us and sharing, not all of your wisdom, because we would be here for days, but
Yeah.
years.
15, 20
We're not going to ask.
minutes
We're
at
not,
least.
we're not going to ask you about the bad stories or the horror stories.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
We could get into some bad horror stories, but we're going to, do you want to do your best customer service?
None of you who are watching this, you are the best.
No. No one listening or watching
No,
is
that's a long
on his
time ago,
list.
long
I
time ago that
promise.
happened.
I
That
promise.
is very serious. It's none of you. It's not a regular,
It's not a
not
regular.
even a semi-irregular.
No, these are the
Those-
off.
Those one-off calls.
Yeah,
that I
that,
get.
yes,
Questions
absolutely.
that just can't be answered. They won't accept that it can't be answered. I wasn't with Neil Armstrong. I don't know if it really happened.
He's answering all. I'm telling you, people come to Steve for medical advice. I would not recommend that. However, you get those calls. Well, thank you, Steve, for everything. We certainly appreciate you for so many reasons. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you for being the voice. Being the voice of the Electrical Training Alliance.
Thank you for having me. I do tell people sometimes I'm just a glorified switchboard operator. So if they need to talk to another staff member, call me. I'll transfer them. So
And that works too.
yes, it does.
Yeah. Well, thank you, sir.
Thank you all.
All right, Todd. We got to spend some PG time with Steve Strickland. Any thoughts?
No, with Steve is always refreshing in one way. As you hear his communication and talk about how much he just enjoys people, communicating, talking, helping, serving, which we always say that's what we are, a service organization. And he definitely defines that in his conversations, and he goes forth with everybody that calls him, which is exactly what he should be doing. That's what customer service is. It's about the user, the customer that calls us, and will that be an apprentice, training director, or coordinator, or assistant over there? He always has the answer. May not be the answer they want to hear sometimes, but he has the answer, or he knows where to go find the answer to help them. And that's his role, is to do just that, be our voice. And I don't think we could find anybody better.
No. And we didn't make him do it, but we could have totally quizzed him, because you can ask him for a JTC and he can give you their program number, their phone number, training director, email address. Like it's,
Assistants, children's, kids, ages, schools, he could tell you all of
Yeah.
it without forgetting any of it.
he could, but don't worry, anyone. He's not sharing your personal
no,
information. I'm just saying he knows people. And I love that how he can reframe and refocus himself. Like, so if it's been a frustrating day, which I think Steve's frustration and patience level just supersedes mine in so many ways, but he's able to reframe and say, okay, I'm talking to this person.
Yeah, no matter
This-
how aggravated I am, whenever he knows it, whenever the question comes up and I'm answering a question because he knows someone's going to be asking, the person that calls never knows. He's the calm, collected voice always.
Right. Like truly, it could be the
Yeah.
25th time he's answered
Doesn't
that
matter.
question, and they will feel like they were his first call.
And usually it's because I wrote something in one way that was wrong, that was accident. People catch that and say, what's going on? And he's got to answer it 25 times. I got it. But you never know from Steve.
So you're the reason, Steve.
This happened before.
You're
yeah.
his job security.
yes,
He
that's
likes
happened
that.
before, yeah.
He likes that. Well, thank you so much, Steve, for being here. Gosh, I mean, there's so much we could say about you for what you do every single day, and for making work so much fun for our staff. There is no doubt you are the life of the party. Big thanks, as always, to you, the listeners, for taking time to join us. Remember that we do want to hear from you. If there are topics you want us to cover, send me an email at saywhat@electricaltrainingalliance.org. Our next episode will drop in June, so you can keep a lookout for that. Until then, stay connected with us through our newsletters, blogs, social media. Subscribe to the podcast, tell a colleague about it, and stay powered up. We will see you next time.
Say what?